Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock, let's go over the market, let's talk about what is happening today in the market, what we can expect moving into the rest of the week, tomorrow and Thursday potentially being maybe, relatively large days because we have CPI tomorrow, PPI Thursday. And yeah, I'll give you my thoughts moving forward. So ladies and gentlemen, as per usual, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you enjoy my analysis, technical analysis, etc., I do have a membership section on YouTube where I constantly share my thoughts every single day. The market is open on mainly Tesla for $2.99 a month. And I also share a bunch of bonus stocks right now as well. Or for $5 a month, you get access to all of those plus NVIDIA daily updates as well. Every single day the market is open constantly, so definitely check it out. Link is down below for the YouTube membership. But jumping into it, Tesla finally cooling off a little bit, down 6%, which it sounds like a lot, right? You think about it like, wow, holy, like 6%, what happened? Did they report earnings? And in fact, it's honestly, if you actually look at it, 6% is kind of nothing. It feels like nothing right now, even though it sounds like a lot, because we're pretty much just back to where we were really just 2 days ago, right? Essentially, right on Friday. So yeah, what does this mean moving forward? Well, like I said, right, so let's talk about all the different possible cases, if you will, for Tesla moving forward, right? I mentioned how my ultra bull case scenario for Tesla right now is actually potentially playing out. But we need more confirmation, but it has potential here. And what is that? Well, remember how I said how, we were in this massive rising channel, and how personally, I do expect Tesla to move down, but the ultra bull case was that if it does come down and it does hold around this, where is this drawing to? Right around this kind of, 325-ish level, which I mentioned yesterday, right? As long as it holds around 325, that to me keeps the ultra bull case thesis, if you will, in play, right? Simply put, it keeps it in play, because not only is this 325 level pretty important because that's what we rejected on Friday, but we also broke out of a rising channel, right? A massive rising channel, and we broke out of it, and now we're retesting that breakout. Now, two things here. Again, if we continue holding above this channel, essentially around that 325 area, and we do not close back down below it, very bullish. And I think I honestly think Tesla should, in theory, again, it's the ultra bull case scenario, should at the very least make its way higher to at least, in my opinion, 365. I'll be pretty surprised if it doesn't, which of course, leads also up to 383, we'll say roughly, 400 and all-time highs. Honestly, again, because this is my ultra bull case scenario, as long as we hold this 325 channel retest, technically speaking, a retest of all-time highs, like, I know as crazy as that sounds, it's not impossible. Like, it's not impossible, despite, the stock, which is another 30%, despite the stock, seemingly kind of just ignoring most important technicals. Like, for instance, like I said many times, it is obviously unbelievably overbought. Like, it's not just overbought, and it's not just very overbought. It is like an ungodly amount of overbought. Like, it is exceptionally, like, super duper extremely, like, pretty much as overbought as you get. But like I said, also, overbought doesn't mean top signal. It doesn't mean it has to come back. I think eventually it will come back, and eventually it will definitely reset, but doesn't mean it has to happen today or tomorrow, right? It could take time, and we could continue to squeeze, kind of like, for instance, as an example, not to, I mean, it is kind of doing a meme stock type movement here, but where the hell is GME, right? Kind of like, when GME, for instance, had its massive squeeze and, became comically overbought, right? It's kind of the same idea. So obviously not to this level, of course, but the point is the fact that when a stock is squeezing this hard, and Tesla, does have meme stock, attributes, I guess, in certain aspects where, it does have these very violent moves up and down, right? So again, just because it's overbought on the daily, on the weekly, and even on the monthly now, it does not mean that it has to pull back, and it does not mean that this is the top. But what it does mean to me is the fact that the risk reward up here, not only is not amazing, because you're obviously playing with fire here, because this is going to be very volatile, right? You can snap down just as fast as you can snap up. Clearly, as we see a 6% day today, and it feels like nothing technically, but 6% is a lot. It is a dangerous game. You are playing a dangerous game today, right? You are walking a thin line here right now. If you walk the line correctly, you can, do very well for yourself, of course. But, a lot of people will fall off this line. So think of it that way. Now, again, like I said, as long as it holds 325, it's bullish in my opinion. Honestly, at some point, maybe even before the end of the year, technically a retest of all-time highs, or at the very least closer to 400, I think is very much in the play, right? I think it's very much in play. So watch for that. Now, however, that's the bullish side. The bearish side is the fact that, well, obviously taking into account that it is unbelievably overbought, if we also start closing down below about $325 per share, and we start losing this level, and we start falling back into this channel, and this channel once again starts acting as a resistance, that to me is going to signal that the bullish momentum is really, really fading off. And the bears, in my opinion, at least fresh bears, I mean, I think the other bears are all probably not, unalived right now, we'll say, but I think fresh bears, or the bears that actually have patience and the bears that really wait for their time to strike, I think that's where they're going to start sniffing blood, essentially. You know what I mean? So watch for that, right? That's going to be really important, because if we do lose that, and if we do start closing below 325 and below this channel, and we start, clearly and visibly turning it into a resistance, I think that's when, we start making our way down. I think at the very least, we come down to 300. But again, I want to make this very clear. My ultimate target on Tesla, if this weakness finally occurs, which, at some point it will, whether we move up again or it just happens now, at some point, I think it will happen. It's not just going to rocket up like this forever and literally have a tiny little pullback and then just keep going. Like that just doesn't happen, and that's not normal, right? At least to this extent, of course. So my overall thing for Tesla right now is the fact that if let me go ahead and remove this for now. If it does close below 325 and below the back into the daily channel, I personally expect Tesla to make its way. Ultimately, 300 could be the main stop and the only stop potentially, but I still want to see a move all the way down here to retest this massive area that was a massive resistance for many, many, many weeks and many, many, many attempts. And at some point, I do want to see it come back down there. I don't know when it'll happen. I don't know how long it'll take. I don't know. Maybe it'll be tomorrow. Maybe it'll be in a week. Maybe it'll take another month. Maybe it'll take a few months. I have no idea. But I do want to see that level ultimately retested at some point or another, and that's going to be very interesting. Another way to look at it is this, right? Let's just assume for now, just for demonstrational purposes, right? Let's just assume that this is the top. Let's say we do fall back under tomorrow or something like that, and let's say this top that we put in yesterday is sitting at around 360. It's the top. Let's just say that happens in theory. Well, this is where, Fibonacci's are really, really crucial, because you take the swing low that we had pretty much right before the election, you bring it up all the way to that, at least from now, what we will assume is the swing top. And you look at the two most important levels, really, or zones, if you will, which is, of course, we have that 618 Fibonacci right here, sitting at pretty much $285 per share, all the way down to these two green ones right here, sitting at about in the 260s, we'll say. We're like peeking our head into the 260s. So watch for that, because again, keep in mind, like I said, I do want to hold 280 to 270, and you might be thinking, but this is in the 260s. That sounds pretty bearish, right? Well, not necessarily, because even in the 260s, it's not too bad, because we had massive areas of rejection here, and also the mid-ish 260s. So, that could be still another very crucial level. So again, the way I personally look at it, a retracement back to either the 618 around 285, or even more ideally, if you're patient enough and you have enough resilience, if you will, waiting for potential retest of about 265-ish, that to me is the sweet spot. Like if you can somehow patiently wait for that and it actually does happen and we actually do get to that level, I think that is probably the best risk versus reward entry you can ask for on Tesla. Again, assuming this bullish momentum continues, because again, I'll make this clear. My ultra bull case scenario, like I said, holding 325, potentially making our way back to 400-ish, let's just say. That's also ultra bull case. But I want to make it clear, if we do break down below this, yes, very short term, I'll be bearish down, right? But it doesn't mean that the overall trend and the overall price action is bearish, because again, even if we do come back all the way down here and we do come back to this 270-ish, we'll just say range, that's still bullish to me. That is, I still find that very, very bullish, even if we come all the way down there, because not only will we most likely be above market bias still, not only will, the super channel will be bearish, obviously, but the market bias will still act as a massive support, but that also is going to be that massive area of the Fibonacci retest on that retracement, which is just nothing more than a potential, new area for fresh longs or people that are exiting their positions or whatever, essentially to refuel the stock and refuel potentially yet another rally back up. So that's just kind of the way I look at it. So again, those are the two main perspectives, and in my opinion, it really comes down to what happens pretty much right around here with CPI tomorrow and PPI on Thursday. That could potentially be for better or for worse, something that influences this, but that's just kind of what I'm looking at right now. I do want to look at one more aspect here very quickly. Now, this is on the 1 hour chart, right? This is more short term. Let's just say, because, okay, my theory for CPI and PPI, or the very least CPI, is the fact that I think everyone wants this market to crash. I think everyone is waiting for the market to crash. I think everyone is just expecting at this point the market to crash, because everyone's like, wow, it is so overbought, and it is, but it has to come down. So to me, the most annoying thing that will, I think, mess with the most amount of people possible, and also just really, because right now the premiums on especially calls are most likely quite elevated, right? So the thing that will mess up the most amount of people possible, in my opinion, again, this is just me kind of speculating, is a sideways, essentially muted-ish price action, just in the market in general, to CPI and potentially even PPI, which again, essentially just slowly decays away the premiums, which of course the option sellers, as usual, and the market makers, if you will, just pretty much win on that, right? So if that were to happen, I think the market just kind of goes sideways, and that's kind of what can potentially happen for Tesla as well. So which is why I brought up the 1 hour, because the 1 hour, even if Tesla does get a bit of a move back up, but ultimately it essentially still ends up being fairly sideways, essentially within this price range right here, right? The 1 hour would bring it back up in the opposite direction of the Fibonacci, the retracement in this case potentially to the way back up to about 345 to about 350. So watch for these two levels. I think Tesla needs to break above on the 1 hour above this general range right here in order for it to really get some potential nice powerful momentum higher and actually make its way potentially even closer to the 400s. But these are the levels I'll be watching for. So to the downside, watch for 325 to potentially break and hold down below. But for an igniter rally up, 325-ish has to hold, and the bears want to defend this while the bulls want to break this level I just mentioned, 345 to about the low 350s. Yeah, I think that's everything. So let me know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching. In terms of options flow, very bullish flow on Tesla overall. Actually confirmed bearish flow 15 million, but as the market closed, you can see here a 2.6 million call came in for this Friday. So this whale's betting 2.6 million on CPI, it seems like, because it's literally expiring this Friday. So clearly some whales bullish on CPI for Tesla, or just really bullish on Tesla gapping up essentially and making another move higher, which again, even if Tesla only does this 1 hour trend, like I said, moving up from pretty much where it is right now all the way up to about this kind of 345 to about 350-ish range, that alone 6%. This whale on this call, if assuming that's what happens, is going to absolutely print if that were to happen. So we'll see. But as of right now, if I had to take a guess, if I had to try to figure out what's happening next, I think the more likely outcome is at the very least we'll make our way back up somewhere within this range, and then I think potential rejection and make our way lower, break below the channel, finally make our way down. That's my guess right now, but of course we'll let the levels decide for us. But all in all, thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow. Peace.